now that has to be made transparent. It doesn't mean it can't happen. So, it's not like it can't happen. It's just the transparency.
We conclude our Tuesday show by looking at a matter that's going to affect so many. Whether you're buying or servicing a car, you need to take note of some of the things that are going to be changing as of the 1st of July 2021. There are changes that are coming, that are on the horizon for the automotive industry, and they will affect every single South African that wants to buy, to repair, or service a car. So we'll be looking at these guidelines, which have been published, in fact, by the Competition Commission. So joining us now is the CEO of AutoTrader, that's George Mienie, and he's looked at these guidelines just so we get a top-line idea, a sense of how we'll be affected. George, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to join and be on, Azania.
Yes, so at least there's some time. We have some time to adjust, to adapt to these changes that will be coming about on the 1st of July. But why was there a change necessary? Why was there a need to introduce new guidelines or amend existing ones? What led to this?
Well, Azania, I think that the general kind of way forward for any industry in the world, and this has happened in Europe, it's occurred in America, is consumer transparency, and I think this is probably no different in that things become more and more transparent, so that at the end of the day, the consumer is the winner. In this particular instance, I think it's a delicate balancing act. In that, our market is quite small, so we have to balance quality and service in a market that I think is rife for things like corruption and stuff. So I think it's a bit of a delicate balancing act. At the end of the day, good for the consumer. And to answer your question, why? It's transparency with the consumer, making sure that the consumer gets to choose at the end of the day.
Yes, really feeling reassured already. So it's going to have an impact on a wide range of stakeholders within the motor industry. I mean, I mentioned OEMs and consumers specifically, but who else does it affect?
Well, it affects insurance companies, it affects parts suppliers, it affects a whole range of the industry that I think are suppliers to the industry, not only just the OEM. So the unbundling of motor vehicle price from the service and maintenance plans, those guys that underwrite those service and maintenance plans are probably going to be affected. So I think it stretches further than just the OEMs, and it touches on a wide variety of the industry. Just the price unbundling alone, where consumers buy a vehicle and they're typically sold with maintenance plans. Now that has to be made transparent. It doesn't mean it can't happen. So, it's not like it can't happen. It's just the transparency around the unbundling of those pricing, making it very evident to the consumer that this is what you're paying for the car. This is what you're paying for the maintenance plan.
Yeah, so let's get into that. How do these guidelines affect me if I'm buying a car?
Well, most consumers are unaware that the purchase price of a vehicle is bundled with these value-added products. You buy the car, it comes with all of these things. The Commission said that the bundling may make the purchase of these plans easier for some customers who would otherwise want to seek them out separately. So how it would affect you is you have the opportunity to now seek out other maintenance plans if you like, or to discuss it with the dealership that you're buying the car from. And some customers can and do purchase these value-added products outside of the standard manufacturer's provided plan by other third-party suppliers. So that's an option as well for the consumer. And the guidelines therefore provide for the unbundling of these maintenance plans and service plans at the point of sale. So you as a consumer you can't necessarily now backtrack. Once you've taken that maintenance plan, unfortunately this doesn't doesn't provide the platform for you to backtrack.
So you can shop around. Does it open up opportunities for players who were not operating in that space or offering this sort of this kind of plan or service?
I would imagine it would. I think it's early days since the 1st of July is, still a way into the future. But the other thing to mention is that the transfer of maintenance and service plans is also quite a big theme in these guidelines, in that manufacturers now are encouraged to, if a vehicle is written off, so if you're driving your car and you have an accident and the insurance company writes it off, that service plan is transferred to the next vehicle. So the exact words are: the consumer shall be afforded the right to cancel the value-added contract or to receive a refund of the value of the balance of the product, or transfer it to another vehicle.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds great. That really sounds great. And speaking of repairs, what does it say around where we can take our cars? Because with certain manufacturers, there are often restrictions on who can repair your vehicle.
Well, so the OEMs need to now promote and support the entry of new motor body repairers, because as you know, up to now there have been preferential repairers that OEMs would prefer if your car was in a bumper bash or an accident, and the guideline makes reference to historically disadvantaged individuals, and so they cannot, according to these guidelines, enter into exclusive arrangements with motor body repairers for effecting repairs to the vehicle within designated geographical areas. So this means that potentially more motor body repairers will enter into the market. So, and as I said right at the beginning, Azania, this is a delicate balancing act because, it's been a good thing that it's been controlled to a certain degree, because it means that potentially there's been a high level of quality. The opening up of this is definitely a positive thing and a step into the positive direction in terms of transparency. However, a lot more rules and checking is going to have to go on in order to keep up high standards. That's the thing that I'm waiting and watching to see is can we keep the high standards up? Because once you unbundle everything and you make it or create a situation where many players can enter the market, it's a good thing and it's necessary and it's the way of the world. You now have to insert checks and balances so that the car, if it's being repaired, for instance, is still supported by the OEM.
Yeah, because that's what I'm curious about too. That then I decide my car gets involved in an accident. I decide to take it to the person who gives me the cheapest quote. And they repair it, and maybe to an okay standard, but am I compromising myself in future? Perhaps if certain things were not done to the standards of what maybe the OEM would have required, when it does go into the second-hand market, or if I want to sell it later. So, as you say, there would need to be some sort of other mechanisms that are put in place to ensure
checks and balances,
that the quality of work is of a particular standard to protect consumers yet again down the line.
100%. So while this is good for the consumer, without those checks and balances, it can be bad for the consumer in certain instances. I'm not saying that that's a blanket, statement that is the case. I mean, I think the jury's out. And now that these guidelines are there and the Competitions Commission has published these, time will tell checks and balances that OEMs put in place and that insurance companies put in place are going to be the telltale signs of, what happens into the future. I just think the consumer should be aware, in any consumer environment, check, and check again.
Yes. And incidentally, I mean, we've had these questions come up before. Listeners have asked, why? Why am I restricted on where I can go? And I guess this is largely, it could also stem from a call or an ask from consumers historically, this cry over the years.
Yes. I think consumers want to be able to have choice, and as we move through the world of the internet and transparency becomes more prevalent, consumers demand choice, and that's exactly why we're more than likely going down this road, as you say.
Yes.